Hi. It's not often you get the chance to talk to the two founder members of Status Quo, Francis Rossi and Rick Parfitt, on their own, one-to-one. Here they are. Francis Rossi, welcome to One-to-One.
Thank you.
What difference did it make, do you think, having been brought up Italian and a Catholic?
The Catholic bit is believing in God, I suppose, but I always feel that's not been pushed into me, it's something that's already inside. I was half Irish, half Italian. My father's side were Italians and the mother's side were Irish, so it was a terrible mix-up to start with. But the Italians were always playing the operas that are very popular now, Nessun Dorma and La Donna Mobile, all those kind of things. And you always used to hear Italians going around the house, they can all do that. So when I was really young, I thought that was, it was corny music, it's for grown-ups, we wanted to be more rebellious than that. And tried to ignore opera, really. Strange, I don't know what it's got to do with being a Catholic, but I always use that phrase, I'm a good Catholic boy, you see. I like that expression.
Are you a member of the famous Rossis, the ice cream family?
Everyone comes up to me and says, are your family the Rossi's ice cream people? I said, well, yeah, but if you go to Rome and look in the phone book, which I did really early on, it's worse than Smith or Patel. I mean, it's just millions of Rossi's. Was
it a well-off family?
Yeah, I think it was. It's always been a sore point with me, because I think my dad was useless with money. It was in the back pocket. Useless. And I always remember arguments between him and my mother about she was trying to make him do decent accounts and spread his money out, because they all work through the summer and do nothing in the winter, and they broke at the other end of it each year, and it just goes on and on. And I remember in the 50s, the money that they were taking, must have been a funny little chap wandering around watching them take money all the time, and they never seemed to have anything to show for it, and it's just a bit crazy to me.
So you think maybe that gave you a bit of drive to get out and do something different?
Yeah, because I was going to be an ice cream man, and I was about to borrow, I think it was £1,500 at the time, which was a lot of money, to buy this ice cream van and have it all painted up, and I was going to go off and sell ice cream. And Matchstick Men just crept into the bottom of the chart. Oh, thank God for that. So I was lucky. I didn't really want to do that. It wasn't me at all.
So if it hadn't...
I'd have gone out on the ice cream, exactly. That's what they call going out on the ice cream that I love.
Well, that's brought us very neatly to Matchstick Men, first hit record. And that, and then Black Veils of Melancholy.
They played them back to back, didn't they? Yeah, right.
But there was really psychedelic.
Yeah, physcadelic. A lot of people thought, when the record came out, thought we were Americans, and it was very hip for about 2 minutes. And then suddenly they must have seen us on Top of the Pops and gone, whoa, and really dropped, saying, you don't want to know about that.
What inspired the title, I mean, the lyric of Matchstick Men?
I'm going to have to tell the truth. My ex-wife, I said, I need pictures. I had the whole thing. I used to write in the toilet to get away from her and the mother-in-law. And have you ever seen a toilet in a prefab? It's very difficult to get in there with a guitar, I'm telling you, and to write a song with just a paper. And I got so far with it, and I said I wanted pictures of something, and I couldn't think of what. And she said, Matchstick Men. And I thought, yeah, don't ever let her know that, please. I sometimes look back on songs and find that there have been meanings that I didn't even realise that I was writing about at the time. But I like to think that they're all just rubbish.
Stream of consciousness stuff.
I don't know. As I said, it's only some that I look back and realise, oh, what I was writing about. Situations with my ex-wife and with the children, or things that were going on in the band.
So it's really quite subconscious then?
Yes, it's only, I was always of the impression, the mind that everybody else was. They told us that your lyrics, there's no content in the lyric at all, no meaning. I said, fair enough, I agree. I can't see any meaning in there either. I prefer the sound of a lyric to suit the melody. If, when we were doing Down Down, it was all finished, and with the lyrics in the verses were correct. I was quite pleased with those. And I was sitting at home with Bob Young, trying to find the chorus. The only thing that suited the chorus was something like Dum Da Dum Boo Dum Boo Doo. Do you remember Mark Bolan had Deborah, 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 Deborah? I need something like da 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 da. So it's hours trying to get something to go da da that made sense with the lyric. And in the end, we ended up with Down Down, which didn't really make any sense to the. People thought there was a sexual connotation about down and all that stuff, but nothing to do with it.
His first two psychedelic records, there was a real change of direction.
Well, that was a conscious thing, that we were going around doing shows. We'd turn up at gigs in the afternoon, and we'd play football for 45 minutes with whoever the support band was. And then we'd go in and do a sound check, and we'd do all these sort of 12-bar things that we do now. And we just think, wouldn't it be great if the sound check could be the gig, and the gig could be... And we first did a track called Junior's Wailing, and I asked the roadie with us at the time, the personal roadie, what he thought, whether it's just, it doesn't suit you, it's just wrong, it's totally wrong, you shouldn't be doing it, it's the wrong, it's just not what for you. And we just liked the idea of doing shuffles. Bearing in mind, all the bands that we were working with at the time with Fleetwood Mac and Chicken Shack on the college circuit, and we would desperately get on, play, get off, and get to try and sit and see Fleetwood Mac. And they'd start going, dum, 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 dum. And they'd go all night, and we'd go, wonderful, dum, 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 dum. Just these blues numbers, one after the other. And we thought it would be wonderful to be somewhere in that area, which really does suit us. Once we're off doing a shuffle, everything we do is a 12-bar. They're not all 12-bar, strict 12-bar. They're shuffles, great. Most of them are shuffles.
What's the difference?
Well, a strict 12-bar format, as opposed to anything can be shuffled. You could shuffle, what's it called? Like what's it called? Windmills of Your Mind, come on. And you can shuffle that. You can and I also realised when I was, one of the very first records I remember hearing or at home, I used to fall down the stairs. I had a little boy, I had a big head. And my mum tells me that I used to look like that and the bloody head, and down I would go, you see, to stop me crying. They'd play some records, and they played this thing, all over Italy, they know it's concertina. I used to play the concertina when I was 6 months old, or something wonderful like that, you know. He plays, he touched it, most boys are genius, that sort of thing. And then realised that it's a shuffle. And most basic folk music are shuffled, Irish folk music and Scots, all shuffles. All this jigs and reels that they use, they're all shuffles. And then seeing Godfather 2, I think it was, I saw this bald-headed, sorry chaps, guy talking about, there's an American band playing some music. He said, where's all this Italian music? Someone's from Italia. So he was intimating they want the shuffle. So that's inside of us. So I always wanted to do shuffles. So we eventually got all the other crap out that we didn't want to do, and as many shuffles as possible.
And did that go well with the audience?
We became more and more popular, and they really did like it. I don't know. Plus, there was that time, there was the period of getting on stage and being cool. You had to be cool. That meant turn the amp on, have a look at the audience. That was the most as they got. Yeah, no, you don't say hello, you just... Turn the amp on and drop your head down. Look at him, Rick, and say, see you later. Here, would cover that bit up, that's got them out of the way, and away you went. And then you get two of you start rubbing. Yeah, this is happening here. Sod them, who cares? We're going. And next thing you look up, they're going. This can't be bad, so there we are. It's not a lot, really, is it? Not very clever. It's just it's a normal thing. People can't help it, I suppose. Once you see it, yeah, fair enough, I'll have some of that, you know. We aren't pretending to be wonderful or clever or musical or anything, change the world.
Let's talk about your clapped-out old guitar.
Oh, this one I so conveniently have.
I mean, look at the state of that.
Yeah, it is kind of a mess. I'd had what they call a Guild Starfire for some years, and then a Gibson stereo, which people think they're wonderful guitars, and I had that for some time, and it's the guy in Badfinger, I forget his name, the blonde guy. He was one of the guys that, he came, he said, I like that, you know, and he had a Grimshaw. And I thought, well, I quite like that, so I did him a straight swap, if I'd get him now for that, but still. So I did a straight swap with the guitar, I was very pleased with it, and 2 days later the bridge collapsed on stage and it fell apart. So I had to get two guitars quickly, and I had two Telecasters sent up to Scotland somewhere. And this was a Sunburst, this one. I got it in '68 for £75. Smells like it too. One pretty guitar. I have a sort of love-hate relationship with it. Sometimes I think it's wonderful, other times I can't stand it. It's there's not much to stay. You've seen Spinal Tap, oh, all that. Well, it doesn't do much of that, oh, business. It's dead, see, it's dead. Wait, nothing. Can I put this down now? Most embarrassing, me talking about things I don't know about.
Celebrated 25 years in a grand manner.
I would have thought it odd. Well, we could have gone, you know, for all the, you know, serious celebrities there and doing somewhere really flashy and wonderful. But to us, it was much more. We were sitting in the office talking with David and Richard, and David's one of our managers. He's one of the new ones. Brian's spanking new. And Rick said, wouldn't it be funny to go back to Butlins? And David managed to get the whole thing together for us to go to Butlins, and it wasn't funny, it was extremely difficult.
Why was it difficult?
Well, we expected it to be an ordinary show as such. We said, fine, well, you know what happens here, and you know how that goes, and it wasn't until I was 4 or 5 numbers in, and I realised not many of these people have seen us before. They may know us and they may know the records, but they haven't seen us on stage. So I immediately went into nerves, blah, 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 and the whole thing got thrown to me. But the whole idea was to tie the, as I said, various fans have been saying, why don't we do the kind of numbers that we did on the anniversary waltz on an album? To me, that would have been wrong. And the initial idea was that David thought, wouldn't it be interesting to make the longest record ever? Twit. But we started off with 60 or 70 songs, a short list of 60 or 70, and then went through, we had about four sides, which were 6 to 8 minutes in duration. And then we all got together again, and it was good because we were working with make the band work, as opposed to having a producer and let him come up with suggestions and just go with that. Because it's like you hand over, you won't get this thinking. And we made sure that the band had to sit and thrash through it. We went through these songs, as I said, and they said, so, well, what do you think of that one? No, well, I personally don't think that suits. And I'd say, well, I don't think this one. And somebody else, John may say that one, I don't think. And we got down to suicides, part 1 and so-called part 2, I hate all that. And we were sat for a good 45 minutes. You imagine the gear set up, as it is on stage, so people know. And I'm sat where I normally stand, and Richard sat there, and everybody sat, and we're talking to each other, and 45 minutes looking for this one thing to link side 2, which was ended up side 1, and couldn't think of it. We tried various numbers, just didn't work. And then John Boy, I call him John Boy, I don't know why, he reminds me of John Morton. He said, why don't we try the Wanderer, which we call the Blunderer, me, the Blunderer. And that seemed to crack it, that seemed cheeky enough to say, yeah, that's really cheeky to throw. We threw that in and it all seemed to work. Any shame in wishing to be successful or liked by millions. That's part of the thing with the business, I think. If any of us weren't show-offs to some degree, to a great degree, we couldn't even get up there on that stage. You couldn't do it. So there's a real element of the show-off in all of us, which makes us... I said earlier to one of the guys talking, got one of the easiest jobs in the world. I walk in the morning, or I walk onto the stage whenever it is, and you just walk on, they go, hey! When these guys came into work this morning, I said, hello, John, all right, yeah, great. Saw you yesterday, who cares? I go to work and one goes, hey! It's the one who start off, you start in a wonderful position. Yeah, in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, the band weren't getting on too well and all sorts of problems. Even Richard and I were drifting apart, which was, if that's the nucleus of the band, and if it's based, which I think it is, on the humour between him and I, that was all falling apart.
You call him Richard?
Yes, Richard sometimes. People keep picking me up and calling him Richard. I see him as Richard or Ricky. I remember him as Ricky. He was Ricky at Butlins, Everyone was frightened of him because they thought he was a puff and all that stuff.
Is that true?
Yeah, your kid, he was extremely slim and good-looking, blonde hair. And I've got into many arguments with women, usually his girlfriends, first off. They, for some reason, want to tell me that his hair's dyed. Now I think, well, if it is dyed, it's not that important and who cares? But I know it isn't. And I've had big rows with women because I say, no, it's not. And then I get into an argument with people about his hair.
Now you're back on the road, is it more tiring than it used to be?
Yes, it's more tiring because of the age and stuff, but we're a lot more sensible now. As I said, there are no drugs, and I stopped drinking. I started drinking for a few years and stopped that too, because I'd end up drinking on the encore. A little story, at the end of the '84 tour, it was a reasonable tour because no one could bitch or play about because it wasn't going to go anywhere. You were finished at the end of that tour, you weren't doing anymore, so it was a reasonable tour. And there was one night, I'd come off for the encore, I really had it was things that had gone wrong. I thought, sod this. I said, do you want to give me a drink? I said, give me a drink, tequila, and they look at me, you don't drink. No, got back out there, wonderful. I thought, hey. I thought, you rotten. You've been drinking for years and not telling me. That's why you drink. It sounds great. Hey. So I'd stay there after the night and the encore, And then after that, you'd be drinking till 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, the following morning, which meant that your body was taking its time to get up. Plus, it was had the abuse. And by 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, ready for the next show, you're still going, oh, no. You get on stage, be like a workout. You say, right, now I'm fine, I'm ready for life. So it was all arse upward, tail wagging a dog, And that also, once all that stopped and you start ironing things out, so well, I want to look after it. I also came to the decision that I do not want to be a fat-bellied 40-year-old. So as soon as I approached 37, 38, I started to work out a little. Nothing too fanatical, but just enough to make, and it's true what they say, you do feel better about yourself and so on. So Plus our show is a lot, our show, man, is a lot more energetic than it used to be. We used to think it was fairly energetic, but not like it is now. But you come off knackered, and I mean really sometimes, but it's worth it, as opposed to coming off feeling like 2 sacks of doo-doos, and it wasn't worth it. It was because you've had too much coke and too much drink for too many weeks. You say, I feel terrible, man. Well, there's a bloody reason you do it there. So it's just common sense, really.
I should congratulate you on the Brit Award. That was a nice thing to happen, wasn't it?
It was. It's something for the rest of the business to say, well, all right, you know, we accept you've been around and stuff. But that was one of the most nervous times I'd had. 2 times I've been really nervous in my life. One was when we did Nebworth. I was asked so many times the week prior to that and on the day, are you nervous at big shows like this? By the time we got there, I was extremely nervous. And stand up in front of everybody in this business, or it was at that show, and to try and say thank you for, I found it extremely difficult. I was really nervous. And sitting around in that suit, because I wanted to do that for some time, to go on in a suit and just rip the bugger off. And we had to sit so carefully, like, you know, we had to get into the seats in the audience. And if you go like that, they rip, so you had to sit.
Can you explain what you did? So you had...
We had these special suits made with, there was Velcro in the centre at the back, so the jacket would come off, and the trousers was Velcro down the side, so they would just literally rip off with our jeans on. So I didn't really fancy doing the whole penguin outfit thing, and I think it looks quite good with Crow doing that, you know. Still trying to buck the system, man. Hey, they're wild. It's our audience that without them, if they didn't initially go, so, yeah, we like you doing this, chaps. They do like, and that the idea that in this business that we all struggle to do something. We struggle to make it. And then as soon as we've made it, we don't want to do that anymore. We want to be cool and we want to be music, or whatever we want to be, whoever we are. You kind of turn your back on your own audience. You say, no, we don't want that. We're far too hip for that now. You may like it, we don't. And people that tend to think they don't want to work to please their audience. Who do you want to work for? Who are you playing to? We don't want success. We don't want material gain and all those things. So I think wonderful, high morals, wonderful, but why don't you stay at home and sing in front of the mirror and stay there?
Francis, you'll never do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's it. I was enjoying myself.